Okay, we're going to talk about communication in general as well as our system at A Plus Gutter and Window Cleaning. So, as far as communication goes, we operate in a hyper seasonal environment. So, that means when it gets busy, it gets super busy all at once. Now, if you think of any professional sports team or imagine like a flight control tower where it's super busy and there's planes landing all day, one common thread that you'll always find is the high level of concise communication. And that's exactly what we hold as a priority at our company. So it's important that although things might be busy and chaotic, with good communication and good organization, everything can still flow very, very efficiently. So the backbone of all of this, I do feel like, is communication, and we communicate with a bunch of different people throughout the day. So, as a crew leader, you will be expected to be communicating or conversating with the customer when you arrive at their property, but you're also communicating with your tech. So, those are kind of two separate channels. In addition to that, you're also communicating with your coordinator at the office. Now, your coordinator is a person that's in the office, they're in front of a computer, and they're logged on to our customer relation management software. So we call it Jobber, but basically it has all the information to do with what the customer was told in the quote, what we promised them, what we're to do, how to contact the customer. They also have Google at their fingertips, as well as our email and past communications with that customer. So, in general, if you have any questions about the job that you're unsure of, it's never a bad thing, especially in the early days of crew leading. When in doubt, pick up the phone and text your coordinator. I say text because, generally speaking, they're also in charge of answering the phones with other customer inquiries, and they can be very, very busy. But at the same time, they always have our chat window up on their computer, which we communicate through WhatsApp. And even if they're stuck on a phone with a customer handling a quote or some other issue, they can still respond quickly to you, or they can have somebody call you back so that your question can be answered. Generally speaking, what we like to go for is when you're starting out crew leading, you over communicate. So regular crew leaders only have to check in at noon and 2 o'clock, which we'll get to if 2 o'clock if they're running behind. But if you're a new crew leader, we expect that you're going to over communicate and you're going to over ask questions. That's the healthy way to do these things. Even if you're 80% sure or 90% sure, I'd far prefer that you text your coordinator just to double check on some of these things, and that'll ensure that you're not doing work that's needless, work that's incorrect, and ultimately it's going to just reinforce your confidence level. And as you continue to progress, the coordinator will be the one that will slowly douse down, and they'll just say, you know what, you got this. You wouldn't have to call me in the future about something like this. And I think that's just a really important idea. Is sometimes we have this notion in our minds that we don't want to be a burden, we don't want to be an inconvenience, and we don't want to say anything as a result of those things, but we then go and do the wrong thing, or we drive to the wrong address, or we forget to pick something up, or whatever. So in the early days when you're starting, please over communicate, and your coordinator will be the one to kind of douse down your communication level, but you should be over communicating to begin with. The second thing we're going to talk about in this video is our system. So we've been doing this business at the time of this recording for 14 years. So a decade and a half we've been cleaning gutters and windows. We've also approached it in a manner that we've always been trying to get better. Things like the job sheet, the day sheet, the employee handbooks, every single off season, we basically tear them apart. We figure out what worked, what needs refining, what needs polishing, and we put them back together in an even better format, so as to lead us to the most efficient work possible. And it's important to make note of this because we do have a distinct and well-defined system for virtually everything that you're going to encounter out in the job. So what we don't want is somebody to come in and basically reinvent ways of doing things or not follow our way of doing things. Now, this is not to say that if you see something obvious that's a deficiency or that could be improved, we certainly do want to hear about that. Absolutely. But the whole idea would be if you do have a generally better way of doing something, you bring it to our attention. And then if it is in fact, the best way to do the thing, whether it be, pulling a ladder off of a roof rack or, the way to fill up a bucket, it really doesn't matter. But if we do in fact establish your way to be the best way, then we'll make everybody do it that way. And again, it's super important to do this because it does get busy all at once. And if we have a bunch of different people doing different things, it just gets chaotic so quickly and so easily. And it gets very confusing for other people as well. So we wanted to bring that up. One quick thing just to cap off the video here, I'm just going to quickly go over the difference between man hours, which are abbreviated MH, and crew hours, which are abbreviated CH. They're both two different ways to measure time. We assume that generally there are 2 people per crew. So if you look at your work order, which we'll get to in a later video, you're going to see square brackets with a number inside. That's illustrating crew hours. So that means if I show up and it's a 1.5 crew hour, that means me and my person, my tech, should be there for 1.5 hours on the clock. So if we arrive at 10, we'll be there till 11:30. That's what that's trying to communicate. When you go to the job sheet, for instance, it's going to break down each of the various services, and it's going to ask you how long did you spend doing the, say, exterior window cleaning. That interval of time is measured in MH, or man hours. So that means one person, how long did it take them to do that one thing? So man hours is on the 1 person interval. Crew hours is assuming 2 people. And basically, there's an example inside of your crew leader handbook that will go through this in a little bit more detail. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand initially, but it does definitely, it's important to make sure that you can recognize the difference between man hours and crew hours.